Came from out of Rochester, never meant to be a protester, just a simple guy. Well, he took the time to learn the ropes, find the story behind every note, from low to high. All he wants to do, all he wants to do, all he wants to do is tell you what made the music great. Yeah, he's the white-haired dude. When he chanced upon a rising tide, people coming to his side from left and right. But he woke the dragon in its den. Music corporation businessmen, they picked the fight. All he wants to do, all he wants to do, all he wants to do is tell you what made the music great. Yeah, he's the white-haired dude. He'll give it to you straight. That's his attitude. All he wants to do, all he wants to do, all he wants to do is tell you what made the music great. Yeah, he's the white-haired dude. I hope they impeach those buccaneers. Just let him teach, so we can hear the white-haired dude. Came from out of Rochester, now he is a protester for the simple guy. He took the time to show the rules, learn us all to find some hope, turn the music high. All he wants to do, all he wants to do, all he wants to do is tell you what made the music great. Yeah, he's the white-haired dude. Not a brown-eyed girl, it's a different tune. All he wants to do, all he wants to do, all he wants to do is tell you what made the music great. What made the music great? Yeah, he's the white-haired dude. Everything is music, everything is music, everything. Music, everything is music, everything is music, everything is music. Hello and welcome to Guitar Trek. I am Richard J. Dowling, and every week I upload an original song. And this is week 60, so that's 60 consecutive weeks of songs. And I'm very happy with, in fact, with the way the challenge is going. And this week, well, I'll talk a little bit through the song and a little bit about why you may have noticed this week that it's maybe a little bit different from my other tracks in terms of the content. So, but first of all, the song itself is very simple. It's a 3-chord song. Originally, I had the riff. Let me just go pick in E. Well, starting in E anyway. So it's E, D major, A. I mean, it's a simple riff, but it's quite catchy, and it felt just, like a song idea I wanted to pursue for this particular week. So I was working on that idea, came up with some melodies, and it was a little bit high because I was starting on the 5th. I mean, it's sort of okay there, but then in the middle eight, it gets higher. So I brought it down a step. So I now do it in D, and I'm phrasing that. I think actually the guitar's a bit out of tune, but it's D major, C, but I'm doing the sort of keeping these two, which is like if you're playing a G major chord, those two strings there. So D, and then the C, and the G. So I mean, it's a simple song, but I think often those are the most difficult to stumble on, really, because they get overlooked. You know, these types of 3-chord songs, which are very standard in rock pop music. Hopefully, this is that nice mixture of sort of, you know, something that maybe sounds familiar, but at the same time sounds fresh. And I think the melody, you know, is hopefully sort of fairly original. But while I was working on the idea, I was in a sort of internet conversation on YouTube with JT Music Box, because I'd mentioned in my previous video that I'm trying to grow the YouTube channel, and one way you can do that is by subscribing to people and hoping that they subscribe to you. But this is not a good strategy, because what happens is you end up with either you are involved in like a massive sort of spiral of trying to comment and subscribe on as many people as possible in the hopes that they subscribe to you and comment on your channel, which if you've got a lot of free time, maybe that's a valid strategy, but for me it's not. I don't have a lot of time. My YouTube community at the moment is at the right amount for me to be able to listen and comment to the people that I like. So I'm just checking. No, okay, I thought I had something behind me. And I can't really devote any more time to it than that. So, I mean, for example, if you're listening to this video, if I'm commenting on your videos, it's because I enjoy your content, and I like to keep up with what you're doing. And I can't really devote any more time to that. So I'd mentioned this in a previous video, and mentioned that I was going to try exploring using, you know, the titles and thumbnails. And a couple of tracks a while back, I mentioned one that I did one about pirates. I did a sort of pirate sea shanty song, and there was one that was about Oasis getting back together and stuff, and they did pretty well on views. And so I was thinking of maybe exploring more, catchy titles. So I'm going to be basically experimenting with lots of different things. And JT Music Box kindly offered his experience that he'd noticed that one of the channels that he was following had had great success by referencing a YouTuber, a famous or a successful in the sense of having a lot of viewers YouTuber, and it might be a way to go. And I was thinking, okay, well, who do I enjoy on YouTube who's famous? And Rick Beato, I mean, this is the guy that I've mentioned quite a few times, perhaps in the early days of this channel, or early days of the Song a Week challenge, because he's a very knowledgeable music teacher. He not only can he explain things very well. I mean, the depth of his knowledge for me is amazing. But he's also just a really likable guy, and he's one of these people who has a presence on the camera that he seems very comfortable, and he's just got a good vibe about him. A lot of people on YouTube, and talking about the successful channels, you know, not like people, you know, who are just on it for fun or whatever, but the successful YouTubers. Often, especially in music-related channels, it really does seem as though they've focused everything on monetizing as much as possible, and they want you to buy their music course or their songwriting course, and everything's sort of geared around that. And, you know, there are lots of... And in fact, Rick Beato as well, also, he sells a book, which I bought and which I can recommend. I think it's very good. I haven't really gone past page 2 of the book, because the amount of musical knowledge that's in there is amazing. And as you've seen, I'm writing songs with 3 chords, 4. I can't remember how many in total. You don't need a lot of theory to write a song, but what I want to know more of, I always want to know more, even if it's not exemplified in the songs. It's good to know why things work. But I often find, just by experimenting, brute force. In this channel you won't see it, but in with my group Forest and Dove, when I do guitar solos, those solos, I don't really know any scales. I know the major scale theoretically, but I've never really bothered like working it all out over the fingerboard. I know the pentatonic scale more or less. So but for solos I tend to just work them out note by note, rather than just saying, oh, what scale is it in, and then whipping off a scale and getting really fast. I literally would sit down and think, what's a note that sounds nice? What's another note that sounds nice? What's another note? And just work them out note for note. So of course, if you have the musical knowledge, you can probably get to the end a lot quicker, but I quite like taking my time to find the right chord or the right solo, because often just you're exploring, you'll hit a lot of wrong notes and you'll hit a lot of wrong chords, but that sort of gets stored away. So I think the knowledge is in there somehow, maybe not formalized. And so anyway, I thought, okay, right, well, JT Musicbox has had this or seen this positive experience of somebody mentioning a YouTuber and getting a lot of views. There was a bit of phenomenon, Alip Bar, a guitarist, I think an Asian guitarist who was very successful, and then suddenly everyone was doing reaction videos to his work. And there's a sort of fine line that I'm trying to keep, where I'm doing my songs, I'm doing what for me is my art, for want of a better word. And if I suddenly just do a song about a YouTuber, it would feel like really cheesy, not like a novelty song or something. So I wanted to try to do this, but in a way that it's still valid as a song, and it's not just a novelty or some silly comedic idea. So one of the things, if you watch Rick Beato's channel, you'll know that he's having a lot of trouble from the music industry, because they keep blocking videos where he's trying to explain, what makes this song great. Literally, I think that's one of his categories of videos that he uploads. So he'll take you through, like recently I saw the Oasis one, Wonderwall, and he'll take you through why he thinks it's great. And because of his knowledge of music, he can explain musically what's happening, but also as well, he's unlike unlike some of the music theoreticians. He's also he can also feel the music, so he can just say, oh, that just sounds great because of the energy or because of whatever. Whereas a lot of that side of music, a lot of the rock and roll side of music, often the music theoreticians, the music critics, maybe is a better word, they don't get that so much. So for example, I often notice when people talk about the Beatles, there's a lot of song analysis of the Beatles, and people talk a lot about Paul McCartney being musically more interesting maybe than John Lennon in the songwriting terms, because his melodies sort of they go up and down a lot, and there's a lot of harmonic variation, whereas John Lennon's melodies tended. I mean, a lot of them were these sort of siren melodies, which are sort of horizontal. They don't really move around a lot, and the chords change underneath them. But in the end, it really doesn't. The theory doesn't matter for me. It's what the result is. So it doesn't matter if musically it's more sophisticated or it's less, or it's more primitive. I mean, I don't care. It's just whatever works. So, and he gets that as well. So he can come at things from a purely sort of theoretic background, and also from the feeling, from the emotion side of things. But in the midst of trying to explain, when he tries to explain these songs, he obviously wants to use samples to say this is the drum solo or whatever, and this is the guitar solo, and this is why it's good. And as a teacher, I think you're given I don't know legally what sort of grounds I'm on here, but I mean, it's expected that as a teacher you can use these things for teaching purposes, because he's not trying to sample them or use them in his own compositions or what have you, and he gets blocked and or demonetized, and so he's always battling these things. And it's strange because, you know, a lot of young people today would, you know, he exposes a lot of great music like Led Zeppelin or whatever bands from the past to people today who may not have heard of them or may not have the opportunity to listen to them. So it's sort of the music industry shooting itself in the foot is his idea. And so I thought that would be a nice element to write the song about. So okay, it's a song about Rick Beato, and there's a certain amount of cynical profiteering in my sense of like, well, I'm doing it, why am I doing it? Because I wanted to get people to look at my film, at my videos, so I'm doing a song about a famous guy on YouTube. So there's a cynical element to that. But to actually carry out and do the song, for me it has to be a good song. I can't upload something that I'm not going to be happy with. So instead of just saying, oh, Rick, he's a great guy, you know, please watch my channel, which would make no sense, it's a song about a guy who is a music teacher who's trying to teach music and who's being stopped from doing so by the music corporation businessmen, which is not a phrase I'd ever thought I'd be able to squeeze into a song. So that's my sort of justification, and I think I'm very happy with it actually, because I think it's a great song, and I think that the lyrics actually work quite well. I was really worried about doing a song about a celebrity YouTuber, because it does seem a bit cynical. Like, oh, I'll write a song, put it up on YouTube, and then all his followers will look at my video. So it is. I can't deny that that's one of the reasons for doing it. But the song itself, I think it's actually a good song. The lyrics are good. There's a story to it, and I think it's something that people can identify with, even if they haven't heard of Rick Beato. They can listen to the song and enjoy it. It doesn't really matter who is the white-haired dude. It's just somebody who's trying to spread the love of music. So that's the thinking behind the lyrics. Then I wanted to go back to talk about the music a little bit. So yeah, it was just it's a 3-chord. So then the chorus goes into A. So yeah, I remember I had that in that came up, and originally the chorus was "All to do is tell you about the music." I just did the whole thing straight through, and like 2 or 3 days after coming up with that, I thought it'd be good to build up a bit of tension. So all he wants to do, all he wants to do, all he wants to do is tell you what made the music great. So it stays in that A chord, and in fact my strumming hand's warmed up now. I couldn't do it in the actual take I think I've uploaded, but I want to do some sort of syncopated things, which I think it's just my arm was like, it just didn't warm up. I'm recording these songs because of my timetable. I'm recording these songs. This is, I think it's 12 o'clock, which in Spain is early morning basically. So it's quite difficult. Parts of the body haven't warmed up, parts of the voice haven't warmed up. But it is what it is. So I'm quite happy with that chorus, because that sort of staying in the A and repeating that section does give it a lot of tension, and it goes to, so it's the A, then C, G, back to the D, and the C and the G are obviously from the, so it's a natural transition back into the main riff. Then the middle 8, which does get quite high, was just F, so it's F, C major and a G, and again that C major G allows you to go back into that. So all the transitions were quite simple, and usually it's those points where I have difficulty linking in a chorus with a verse or with the middle 8, and then that's often where the music theory comes in handy, is working out, well, I'm in this chord and the verse it begins with that chord, how do I get there, sort of thing. It can be useful. So that's about it this week. I wanted to say a special thank you to JT Music Box for his little tip. and also to thank every one of you for listening, watching, and for spreading the word. We're on week 60, so now I guess the next milestone would be episode 100, which is quite staggering to think of. I've still got quite a few ideas left. I mean, I'm feeling a bit chipper this week because my timetable has eased off, and certain difficulties that we were having have resolved themselves. So life is considering we're still at the tail end of a pandemic, or I hope it's a tail end of a pandemic, things are good. And so thank you all. Thank you JT Music Box for your kind help, and I will see you all soon. Bye bye.